Let's move on to the junction design. Going back to my display settings, and I'm going to turn off my contours as well as my slope arrows. I'm then going to go to my CAD layers, and I'm going to turn on a couple of CAD layers that will help me through the design process. I've gone and put in a couple of CAD layers for explanation purposes. When you do this junction or intersection design, you stand in over here, and all points left and right are relative to this position. I've taken a screen grab of this, and I'll use it for explanation purposes during the design process. So I go to Junctions, Add Junction. Reading my prompt, I need to indicate the intersecting road. So I simply take my cursor there and left click on the intersecting road. And then once again, reading my prompt, indicate the main road. So I go to the main road, left click. Civil Designer has automatically picked up which is my intersecting road and which is my main road. If I'm not happy with that, I can always graphically indicate otherwise. During the design process, I've gone and specified I want a coordinate interval on my bar mouths as every half a meter. Now I need to point out the divider islands, which we'll put in later. This particular project, we'd only be driving on the left-hand side, and the minimum area for the divider islands is 3 squares. So if we do insert divider islands and Civil Designer finds that the area of the divider island is less than 3 squares, it ignores it. You can go and use a different template if you wish for your bar mouths. And all the information that we are about to do can be saved and loaded for another design later on. Selecting the left curve. Civil Designer automatically goes and puts in text indicating which is left and right. Now, if you recall earlier, I went and put in a symbol over here. So we're standing at this position when you're looking at your intersection design. This would be your left curve as indicated over here. This is your lead-in information, which you would insert over here. And then leading out information would be the information over here. And this is really just your center radius, which we'll change to 15. This is a really helpful diagram. If you go and make changes to the settings, you can see how the diagram dynamically updates. And at the same time, Civil Designer goes and grays out the information that you don't require. So with the curve information, you only require the radius and the offset, whereas if I go and select the taper option, you can see my diagram updates, and these two cells now become active. Turning off the taper option, and then looking at the lead out information. Same thing applies, you can go and specify a curve and taper. Now, if you aren't quite sure what the taper option would do, I've made provision for that beforehand. It's one of the common questions we get asked in our very popular training courses. How do you go about putting in a slip lane? So this is an example of a gentle slip lane. In that case, you would use the taper option and specify your grade and offset. Turning that off. Looking at your edge conditions. So the vertical grading, very important. And remember these two options. You can either have a straight linear gradient or an S-curve. You can go and specify to use a curb on your bar mouths. And once again, we've got a whole library of curbs that you can go and select from. Moving on to the left island, I can go and select divider island. Either specify my own dimensions, or I can pick it up from CAD. And I've got a good example of a CAD function that I'm going to show you. Let's stick to the manual way for now. Go and select Island Settings. This diagram shows you which dimensions are necessary And you would then simply go and change the dimensions according to your design requirements. You also have the option of applying a different curve for your islands. Moving on to the right curve. And this time, instead of specifying things manually, I'd rather pick it up from CAD entities. We're looking at the bow mouth here. That's one of the reasons why I've gone and turned on this CAD layer over here. I'm going to pick up this CAD line or arc and use that to extract the bow mouth. You can see all my information over here is blank. I can then go and click on indicate and then go and select that CAD line. If you've got more than one CAD entity, you can select numerous entities. Once you've got it selected, go and right click and extract string. Again, you can go and specify which edge conditions to use. Looking at the divider island, again, this time specifying I want the CAD entities. Now, before I indicate the polylines, I need to go and make a bit of space here because I want to open up another drawing for explanation purposes. Now I'm going to go and select indicate polylines, and I'm going to go and minimize this. Back in Civil Designer, I'm going to go and select the polyline representing my island. Here you can see it's been highlighted. Now, if I didn't specify divider islands, I also have the option of putting in a center island where you go and specify which dimensions to use. Looking at the layout, and this is where my new diagram comes into effect. Just going to go and move that a bit. This is what Civil Designer uses to do your bow mouth design. We're looking at 4 points on your two roads. We're looking at point LC, and this is on the main road. So our main road being this road over here. There's the LC point. Civil Designer would automatically go and pick up chainage value on the main road, in this case being 335, which is the LC indicated point over here. Looking at the next point, right of junction or RC, you can see the coordinates automatically picked up and the chainage value. There it is, RC over here. Now, in some extreme cases, you as the designer are able to go and make changes to these values. It could be that due to your coordination interval or due to intersection being on curves, you want to go and put in your own value there. You could go and put in which value to use, and you could go and specify the fixed option. And in that case, you override the chainage value that Civil Designer put in for you. Looking at the next point, intersection point on main road, that being point PI. I've indicated on the diagram where PI is. Looking at the last point, intersecting road, IP1, I've indicated again on the diagram. With these points, remember where you stand, where your eye position is. The width left option over here is from IP1 to the left edge where my lead-in text is situated on that side of the road. Civil Designer automatically picks up that width. It automatically goes and picks up the left grade, and from that it's able to interpolate the elevation at that point. It knows what the longitudinal grade is at that point of the design, and in a similar manner, it picks up my LC position with its grade and width in order to interpolate a point on the edge. If we recall earlier, under the edge conditions, we specified a vertical curve of either linear or S-curve. So depending on what you put in there, Civil Designer will use the existing grade of your main road and the existing grade of your intersecting road. It would split the bow mouth into segments, and from that it interpolates the elevations along your bow mouth. Now remember that these are design tools that Civil Designer gives you, but at the end of the day, as a designer, you need to ensure that you have sufficient slope along these bow mouths, and I'll show you how you can go about doing that. Then over here, depending again on whether you selected linear or S-curve grading, you can apply this to the entire junction, and that would include your taper options as well, or if you only want to apply it to the center curve. Once again, you can go and save these settings and load them at a later stage. Clicking on OK, and Civil Designer would now use the parameters that you've specified and go and design your junction. Let's go and maximize. I'm going to turn off those CAD layers. And then just focus in on the island display settings. I'm not sure if you can see a bit of yellow there, but if you go to your display settings and you select plan layout, I could very easily just go and select my pen color. So I don't have to worry about predetermined styles and make changes to styles along the design. Now you can see this is a very fast process. As you go and make changes to it, you'll see the display settings like your contours and your arrows would also dynamically update.